I wanted to talk to you today about some more food industry secrets. I'm doing a little series here on how the food industry hooks us. And what I want to talk to you today is about how they hook us with convenience. Last time I talked about how they hook us with craving. And next time I'm going to talk about how they hook children. So this time it's all about convenience. If you have any comments, feel free to post them and I will see them as we go along. Okay? So convenience. So I want to take you back to the 1950s. All right. And I want you to envision what the world was like in the 1950s. We had lots of moms at home caring for their kids. We had just gotten through World War II and the economy was starting to recover and we were starting to have more money. And what the food industry was noticing is that harried moms wanted to have more time to themselves for doing other things and less time in the kitchen. And so they started working at meeting this demand. And so they started to develop foods that were easier. So for example, they took pudding, which usually took hours to prepare. And there was a food scientist named Al Classy who figured out how to make instant pudding. So it wasn't really, it was 15 minutes or so where you had to mix it up. Here, I've got this stuff, right? So you could just mix it up and then you would have pudding in just 15 or 20 minutes. Totally awesome. So I want to tell you, I got a lot of this information from an awesome book called Salt, Sugar, and Fat by Micheal Moss. And I want to read you a quote from the book. And it is a man who was named Charles Mortimer. He was the CEO of General Foods from 1955 through 1964. Okay. And he was addressing a group of food, not just food industry executives, but home product executives, okay? And he said to them, there's an essential element of life that could be expressed in a single word: convenience, spelled with a capital C. Convenience is the great additive which must be designed, built in, combined, blended, interwoven, injected, inserted, or otherwise added to or incorporated in products or services if they are to satisfy today's demanding public. It is the new and controlling denominator of consumer acceptance or demand. So this was what he had seen. He said there's convenience of form, meaning how things are manufactured. So he gave us an example, Gainsburger dog food. I don't know if you remember that stuff. It was a long time ago. Dog food patties that were invented to be soft, but yet shelf stable. So when you're ready for them, you just open the package. There's the convenience of time, like the grocery stores throughout America that were starting to be staying open later because more women were entering the workforce. And then there was the convenience of packaging, which allowed you to be able to just throw things away, right? So you didn't have to keep recycling like glass bottles and stuff. You could just throw things away. Modern Americans, he said, are willing to pay well. And remember, this is in 1955 that he's saying this. Modern Americans are willing to pay well for this additive to the products that they purchase. And not because of any native laziness, but because we are willing to use our greater wealth to buy fuller lives. And we have, therefore, better things to do with our time than mixing, blending, sorting, trimming, measuring, cooking, serving, and all the other actions that have gone into the routine of living. So suddenly, there became this explosion of all kinds of time-saving products. And they are there in the grocery stores to help the modern homemaker trade a little bit more of her new wealth for some extra time away from the kitchen. So for example, ready-to-bake biscuits, okay? And just in a tube here, you just open them up and stick in the oven. Well, Oh, and Al Clossy had developed his instant pudding. And nowadays, they even have shelf-stable pudding. So you don't even have to mix it with milk, right? Mashed potatoes. You could just take these flakes and mix them with boiled milk and butter. I was raised on this stuff. What about minute rice? This is some minute rice. This stuff, by the way, has 77 grams of carbohydrates in it, just FYI. And then we had instant oatmeal. So as time went on, more and more and more of these products became available on the grocery store shelves. And think about what happened in the 1970s. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention Tang. I don't have any Tang, but Tang took away a lot of the time. I mean, women actually used to be squeezing oranges to make orange juice every morning. They spent that time doing that. Tang revolutionized orange juice. Okay. So think about the 70s when the microwave became available. Now, this was the time when more women were returning to the workforce. The microwave oven became available. I distinctly remember we were the first on our block to have a microwave oven. And there were all kinds of foods that became available that you could just heat and serve really, really quickly. I'm seeing here a comment from a Facebook user. You have to let StreamYard know who you are, that it's okay to use your name. Otherwise, I don't know who that is. But he or she says, I tried to do the convenient healthy food products last week. Did not work out. Ah, okay. There's not a lot of convenient healthy foods. So that's interesting. So back in the 70s, microwave became available. And, microwave, first of all, it was just one-person meals, and then it became family meals. And then you might not realize it. If you were born in the 80s or later, you don't know that we didn't used to have frozen pizza that you could just stick in the oven. So lots and lots of convenience food, burritos, taquitos, just microwave them really quick. And then after a while, drive-through restaurants became really all the rage. And I spent years working at McDonald's when I was a teenager. And so now, in the 90s, the thousands, the 2000s, like we've got kids in all different kinds of sports, or at least we did before COVID. And who's got time to go home and actually cook a meal and sit down as a family when you've got this kid's got to go to this sport and this kid's got to go to this sport, and you just run through a drive-through in between sports and feed the family with the drive-through food, right? So convenience. And nowadays, just the idea of even mixing up a packet of Jell-O pudding like this feels like you're actually cooking. So it's kind of funny. So what are you going to do, right? You really want to understand that this is just one of the ways that the food industry has gotten us hooked. Their foods are super convenient. Think about, how do they make foods convenient? Think about how you would do that. It takes chemistry, okay? It takes food chemistry. So Al Clossy was the one he was the one who invented Tang. He was the one who invented the pudding. He figured out how it is that you can use chemical additives to make food more instant. And we now know, based on some research that was just reported last year, that processed food, when we're eating processed food, we end up eating 500 calories a day more of the stuff than we otherwise would have eaten. So this is really interesting, right? So if you want to lose weight and keep it off, one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is to avoid instant foods, avoid chemically processed foods, eat real food. The interesting thing is, you can get a frozen pizza and stick it in the oven and wait 20 minutes for the oven to cook it. Or if you just plan ahead a little bit, all it takes is a good chopping knife and a good chopping block and a great pan and some olive oil, and you can make a stir fry in 20 minutes. Easy peasy, right? And then you've got fresh vegetables, fresh protein, and a really wholesome meal that is way more colorful than a pizza is anyway. So that would be my recommendation, is to just plan ahead, plan ahead. And if you want a little help with this, I have put a link, and hopefully this works, to the 5-day sugar detox menu. The 5-day sugar detox menu has all your meals planned for 5 days straight. There's a grocery list right there. You just go buy the groceries. You cook up your breakfast ahead of time. And you, every time you make dinner, 20 minutes to make dinner, right? And then you have enough left over for lunch the next day. So that'll get you started, at least getting some good, healthy nutrition in, so you can avoid falling prey to the food industry's convenience tactic. Okay, let me see if there are any comments or questions that I need to answer here. Hang on. Okay, I don't see anything popping up. So that is all for today. I will be back next time with another awesome, informative video. Next time it will be about how the food industry hooks children. Just you wait. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.